everybody, and welcome back to Raising Vibrations. And today we're going to be continuing with a series that I started just under a week ago, or just over a week ago. I'm going to label it the Heart Matters. And this is a Heart Matters episode. And today I want to be sharing with you some of the insights that have come through doing some readings with some souls. And today we're going to be doing deconditioning the mind chatter. Okay, and I think this is a really good thing for us along our path of awakening to this experience on Earth. Okay, our lives. A big part of our story is getting in touch with the relationship of what the mind does and how much it influences our perception of reality, and in particular, the nature of how it is conditioned. And that conditioning then influencing and creating deep emotional blockages within ourselves. Okay. And I feel that this is something that we should all look at some point in the process of awakening to your spirituality. Okay. Awakening yourself, understanding yourself, and really observing how the mind operates through this duality. And I've spoken about this before in some other videos, actually. But in particular, the nature of the duality that the mind offers. Now, there's two ways that the mind can operate from my point of view, okay, that I've observed. And that is that the mind is here in a way as a tool. And this is something that I don't feel is like new knowledge or revolutionary. I think this is, spoken quite openly amongst a lot of people, that we understand that the mind is just a tool to maybe communicate to each other. What our feelings are, what our senses are, etc. But where I feel like we tend to not understand how much it influences us is when we're looking for soulful purpose experiences, like truly deep soulful experiences that transcend time, okay, that transcend the human definitions and man-made laws of what reality is versus what the soul experiences in a reality perspective. Okay, some of the things that I can give you an example for is that when we develop our relationship to time, we have constructed a world that is incredibly masculine. Okay, we are part of a world in which the reality is incredibly masculine and is heavily influenced by the manifestation of the mind. Okay, and so we're always in a hurry. We're always needing to get from point A to point B. And you can notice this within yourself. If you really spend one day just observing how much you get frustration during your day around feeling like you need to get somewhere. It's like, okay, I need to do this. Okay, I need to do that. Or you're trying to do something and it's not moving fast enough. And there's this urgency about the experience. Now, this can be quite a difficult thing to do, because when you start to decondition yourself from the mind, you'll actually notice how it starts to fight back in a really intense way. Like, for instance, you can observe the nature of how your life is supposed to be. So this is what I was getting onto. We can look at it from the relationship that we have the Saturnian time frame, okay, that we live within, okay? And that is, at the age of 14, you've got to be doing this. At the age of 21, you've got to be doing that. At the age of 29, you've got to be doing this. And these landmarks within your life are points in space and time that you need to gravitate towards in order to be something. And I'm specifically talking to the Pluto in Scorpio generation, okay? And maybe even the Pluto in Sag that you guys are watching this video right now. Mainly you two, okay? Because you're at a point within your existence where you're emerging into or just emerging out of your Saturn returns, or, for the Pluto and Sag, as you guys are like 21 at this stage as maximum 20. And there's so much pressure on you to find meaning in life, so much pressure for you to find purpose and existence. And it's like, stop, stop. The soul has natural time frames in which it activates itself. For me personally, I work a lot with souls that come to me, or people that come to me, where they're looking at their astrology chart. And I promise you, 100% of the time, there will always be a specific activation portal or point in the birth chart that is the causal factor for somebody having a reading, or for one of you having an experience that needs to have objectivity or clarification provided. And it's that moment, those experiences, that shows me that no matter how fast you want your mental process to want to accomplish something, the soul's still sitting back in its own place and going, look, dude, I'm outside time and space. The ego, on the other hand, which is the self-identity, the mind in that way, it is operating through this human matrix that can be easily manipulated and contorted and changed and deformed and perverted and all this type of stuff. Whereas the soul sits back and chills out and goes, okay, here's my experience. This is what I wish to understand. This is what I wish to experience, etc. And I will go through these natural cycles and flows in accordance with actual universal law, not what man thinks it needs. And it is this relationship of having superiority that the mental the facilities and our outside world has created that makes it so incredibly difficult for us to see through this bullshit, literally. And so what I'm saying here again is that we create these experiences within us where we naturally feel guilty or feel out of alignment or lost in our own process regarding where we're supposed to be if we're going to experience enlightenment. This is the thing that I was going to talk about particularly, was when am I going to be done? When am I going to be enlightened? When am I going to be part, on the next journey, etc. And all these questions naturally formulate themselves through the mind because the mind wants to know what's happening next. And even when you give it information to tell it what's going to happen next, it wants to know what's happening next afterwards. And it's this consistent process of linearity that has no connection to the nature of how the body works. Okay, as an example, a great example was my eldest son. He was saying, he's got he injured his ankle. He does scooter competitions, and he injured his ankle, and he was saying, he's got to be ready for Tuesday, or Wednesday, and he's got to be ready. And we're like, well, but your body in itself doesn't have the healing time frame that your mind wants to have in relationship to when you need to have this competition. So if it's not ready, it's not ready, and that's it. It's unfortunate. You can speed the process up by doing certain things, but its organic process of healing is in accordance with its own laws. And our mind, because of the inconvenience it provides us with, the experience it provides us with, it then just formulates frustration or whatever. Whereas we have become so trained, so conditioned within ourselves to not understand that process. And so it's very difficult for us to swallow that truth, So this is a video to encourage you to spend a great deal of your time when you are awakening to your true authentic spiritual experience, not the mumbo jumbo guru nonsense stuff, Deepak Chopra, Eckhart Tolle crap that's out there. I'm talking about authentic self-activation, self-awareness within your own field that is in accordance with your own organic and natural laws, not the ones that are conditioned, not the ones that are being described to you, etc., but how your own time frame is. Another way to show how this crisis manifests for us. What happens if you're somebody that's a night owl, right? You prefer to stay, your creative process is at night. Now, you have to have a job that pays for your living expenses that is during the day, and yet you don't have the capacity to feel inspired during the day is the same way you would at night. How is that organic to your process? And so it's about getting in touch with this, but also realize how much we are out of touch, how much the world is designed based on one process. And that it does take quite some time to decondition yourself from the expectations that the mind places on you about what you should be doing, what you have to do, what is the next process, when you're going to get enlightened, and all this type of stuff. And just kind of come back to a place within yourself and allow that the process takes whatever it takes. And your unfoldment will be exactly in accordance with its own process. And your job is to kind of just sit back a little bit, observe the natural flows that are manifesting itself in a more sensory perception way versus a mental way, and watch how you actually get pulled in certain directions regarding certain things that you need to experience. And you notice that there is actually something controlling that from a different dimension that is still you, but has a timelessness to it. And it's in that space over there do you see the truth of your experience. You see the journey of your experience. You see the non-linearity of the experience. And then as you experience that non-linearity, that timelessness in that sense, you come back to your self-identity that exists in this chaotic world of masculine, overstimulated masculine principles, and you communicate them like I'm doing with you today. But the nature of choice making, the nature of knowing when the time is right, the nature of knowing when your experiences are going to unfold in an organic way is all situated in this part of the body. This is the sensory perception. It's knowing. I'll leave it with you guys. Thanks very much for watching this video, everyone. Please hit the like and subscribe button and write the comments below if you felt that this was inspirational in some way. Other than that, have an awesome weekend, or weekday, should I say.